Welcome to Impact 2026, our continuing conversation where we talk about all types of different topics, race, religion, current events, everything that you can think of. This is that continuing conversation, that opportunity for people to be able to talk about the things that they want to talk about. So you do that by you typing your questions or your comments into the comment section. So whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or even on our website, I think you can type your questions and your comments. They will show up. I will bring them up on the screen. We will discuss them. You don't just want to listen to the conversation, you want to be a part of the conversation. So feel free to join. Also, I would like to remind people of the other offerings that we have here. On Thursdays, we have Thursday Thursday. It's a weekly Bible study. It's a time where we get together and we really go on a deep dive through the Bible. So if you really wanted to, learn more about what you're looking at in the Bible, Thursday is that time to do it. On Sundays, we have a time of worship that is at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock a.m., Facebook, YouTube, and in person. So please feel free to join us. In person is at the address that's below. Then we also have a time of prayer on Tuesdays from 7 to 7:45. That is an opportunity to pray with everyone in the ministry. You pray individually, but you are praying with people in the ministry. Now, you don't have to pray from 7 to 7:45, just sometime in between that time, and you will be praying with the ministry. And of course, on Tuesdays at this time, where you are now, is Impact 2026. All right. It's been a little while since I've been here. Missed a couple of weeks there. Had to rerun some episodes, feeling under the weather, but now I'm back. And so there has been a lot of different things that have gone on over the course of the weeks. Well, one of the things that just happened, this just happened today. So depending on when you're seeing this or if you're taking it in live, was that the Supreme Court had a bunch of rulings. This was their session, their 2026 summertime session. They're bringing out all of their rulings. And one of the big rulings, one of the major rulings was whether or not the Supreme Court was going to agree with the president's executive order to try to end birthright citizenship, ending birthright citizenship. So that is what we have here in the United States, is what we have for people who are born here, regardless of who your parents are. If you are born in the United States or on a United States territory, you are a U.S. citizen. It's your birthright. So it's birthright citizenship. Just because you are born in the United States, you are a citizen. And so what the current president was trying to do was do an executive order that said no, birthright citizenship will no longer be granted, especially to those who are not already citizens. So if you are a foreigner, you are someone who is a citizen of another country and you came here on vacation and you happen to be pregnant and you had a child, that child would not be granted citizenship. If you were someone here who was on a visa, a work visa, or somebody here was on an education visa and they had a child, they would not be granted citizenship. If you were someone who was didn't have legal status, you were an illegal or considered illegal, and you were here, whether you were here for 20, 30 years or you were just here for 10 days. If you had a child, you would not be granted citizenship according to this particular executive order. And so what happened was the Supreme Court had to discuss and decide whether or not they were going to allow that order to continue or whether it was unconstitutional. And so the decision came out today that it was unconstitutional. And so now we have a situation of where we're going to continue what we currently have and what we currently are, and we have birthright citizenship. Just real briefly, the United States is not the only one who has birthright citizenship. Canada has it the exact same way that we have. If you're born in Canada, regardless of who you are, where you came from, you are a Canadian citizen. Mexico has it. Over 30 different countries, mostly in the Americas, have some sort of birthright citizenship, unconditional. So it's not conditioned on one parent or the other. Brazil is another country. And then there's a bunch of countries who have conditional birthright citizenship. For example, in the United Kingdom, they say that if you have at least one parent who is a citizen, then you are a citizen. And so you have to have at least one parent. And then there's a bunch of other countries who have different levels of citizenship when it comes to, you have to have lineage and all of this kind of other stuff. But there are many countries who have birthright citizenship. And so it's not unique. It's not a special thing that the United States alone has. And so sometimes people who have said things like, oh man, it's crazy. Everybody else, no one else is doing this. Well, that's untrue. There's plenty of others who are doing this. And major countries, smaller countries, all types of countries. Like I said, over 30 countries. Have unconditional birthright citizenship. So back to what we are kind of talking about. With that being said, so the Supreme Court said that it was an illegal executive order, and they had to write their opinions. And so the dissenter, that's the person or the people who say, we don't agree with this decision. So you have the Supreme Court justices, they were the majority, they write the majority opinion of why, why this is unconstitutional. Then you have the dissenters who write why they dissent or disagree with the majority opinion. And the justice who wrote the dissension was Clarence Thomas. The oldest justice that's actually there. So Clarence Thomas wrote his dissent. And in his dissent, he wrote that, it wasn't, birthright citizenship should not be granted to everyone because it was originally set up to be granted only to slaves, to correct the situation of slaves not being able to get their freedom. And so if you really want to be a history buff, you want to go way back, they had the Dred Scott decision. That was Dred Scott who sued for his freedom to say that he was a citizen, he was a slave, who sued to be freed as a citizen. And they said, no, you're not a citizen. And so the 14th Amendment which granted birthright citizenship, was set up to correct that wrong. That was Clarence Thomas's rationale. He was saying because of that, it does not apply to anyone else, and it should not apply across the board, granting people citizenship. There's a lot of problems with what he just said there. And one of the issues is that if it was only applied to slaves, and so birthright citizenship was only applied to slaves, then what is our citizenship requirements now? What would it be? Is it that you have to be a citizen and then be born here? Is it that one parent has to be a citizen? What would be the requirements? So you have to fundamentally go back and figure out what the requirements are. Or you're just saying birthright citizenship for everybody except for those, except for people who are, both parents are illegal, or one parent is legal. There was no clarification there. The other part is the other justices, the black, so our current black female Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown, she said, and went directly at Thomas. She said, Clarence Thomas, you normally try to be colorblind in what you say, or you have this attempt to be colorblind. But now this time you're saying, well, all of a sudden it's race-based, that this was only applied to slaves in the United States. And so that's the conversation I was going back and forth. But here's more so is the conversation for us is, how do we feel about it? How should people feel about it? Do you think everyone who was born here should be a citizen? Or do you think it should be some requirement that you have to be a citizen who has a child to be a citizen? Or should it be some other kind of qualifications? For years and years and years, people just came over here, and it's true. Some people do come over here so that they can have children, so that they can be United States citizens. That does not grant citizenship to the parents, but you can have your child be a citizen. Um, you know, the claims are that that doesn't happen a lot, whereas some other people claim that it happens a lot. But yeah, there are people who come over here so that they can have children with citizens. It's easier. The easiest thing for people to do with citizenship is, all right, well, if you were born here, let's just make you a citizen. Doesn't have to get all complicated. You don't have to go through all these rules. You don't have to check these parents and IDs and all this kind of stuff. Look, if you was born here, we got you in the hospital, or came to the house and we saw that you were just born, you're a citizen. Makes it nice and easy. Um, but here's the question, and I think for us, for people who call themselves people who are trying to be moral as a Christian community, what's the conversation to have is, why would you not want people who are born here to be citizens? You don't want them to get the benefits of being a citizen, because if they're here, most likely in most situations, or a lot of situations, if they're already here, they're here because they live here, whether they're illegal or not. And if you're born here, that would make, and you're a citizen, then you're entitled to the benefits of being here. And so are we saying that, we don't want people who are here, who are born here, to have the benefits of being here, based on their background, based on their, race? Why are we trying to be so stingy with what we have? Why are we trying to lock people out of benefits if you're born here? We had a group of people. We have a group of people in the world who call themselves, pro-life, or they're supposed to be really pro-children. Pro-life is supposed to be pro-children, but yet we have, sometimes those are the same people who are sitting there talking about trying to take away benefits from children. So they want all the lives born, but then they don't want to give benefits to children. And so, giving citizenship, I think, from my standpoint, giving citizenship to children, to people who are, born here, who, regardless of who their parents are, is just humanity. They didn't ask to be born in a certain place. They don't have any decision to be made. They don't have any part of the decision process. They can't say, hey, I don't want to be a citizen, or I do want to be a citizen, or I don't want to be born here, or I do want to be born here. What we know is, when you are born here, you are entitled to all of the benefits of being a citizen, because you are one, which means all of the services and everything that we have. So if you need something, healthcare and other additional services, you are able to get. And so I think the main thing that we're sitting here doing is we're saying we want to punish people, punish babies, punish newborns by stripping away your citizenship and stripping away any rights that you may have, or any assistance that you may need to get. Let's make it tough on you because your parents may not be citizens, or your parents may have come over here in an illegal manner. Your parents may have overstayed their visa, or whatever. You want to punish the children for whatever you disagree that the parents have done. And so that's the issue. That's what we have going on. Also, with that, and with the citizenship issue, it comes down to, for us, is loving one another, loving our neighbor, loving and taking care of one another. I don't know why we are so big on citizenship here. I know there's a couple of benefits and everything like that for being a U.S. citizen. That's great. But it's hard for me to imagine, especially as a person who believes in God and has faith. It's hard for me to imagine that we are not just, I know there's a bad word for some people, like citizens of the world. Like it doesn't matter that much to me what country you're from, or what country you call home, or what country you have your allegiance to, or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, if you are here and you are my neighbor, or if you're here and you're a person, you get treated as a person. You get treated as a neighbor. And so I think we put a little too much onus here on citizenship sometimes, and allegiance sometimes. But going back to Clarence Thomas, who was saying that citizenship was only to be applied to slaves. one of the problems with what he's done here and what he's done over his course of his life. If you don't know too much about Clarence Thomas uh, is a Supreme Court justice who was brought in because he said that his goal was to, and this is his stated goal, his goal was to reverse as much as what Thurgood Marshall had put in place. And so, Thurgood Marshall was the first black Supreme Court justice. He was a chief justice. Um, and so Thomas's thing, one of Thomas's thing was he didn't like a lot of stuff that Thurgood Marshall presided over. He didn't like a lot of the benefits that black people would get. He didn't like affirmative action, even though he benefited from affirmative action during the course of his life. Because Clarence Thomas has black and brown skin, or whatever you want to call it. And so his whole fight was kind of against and breaking down a lot of the benefits that black and brown people have received over the course of the years. And so this was another one of his opportunities to try to come at people of color by saying, all right, black people have to be citizens because they were slaves and the 14th Amendment set it all up for them. We don't have to let these brown people come up in here. Or we don't have to let black people who come from different countries who come up in here. If they happen to have a kid, we can keep them out. And that's more so of what his assertion is. And you may be like, well, no, he's just talking about all people and all races and everyone who's not a citizen. Nah, that's not how Thomas's role. And so him trying to keep it certain ways, and again, him trying to make sure that no other people of color can really come up with him and get citizenship and benefits. Now, this ruling should, for anybody have any comments or anything like that, please feel free to put them in. This ruling actually should have no bearing on how we treat one another. That's what I believe. And so that is, as the church, how we're loving our neighbor, whether you're illegal, whether you are legal, whether you're a citizen, whether you're not a citizen, everyone should be treated, as a neighbor. And I think it shouldn't really have any bearing. This is politics being politics and politicians and government workers being government workers, and them deciding, who can come into the country or not come into the country and who can stay here and who can not. But it shouldn't affect how we treat one another. So let's do a quick connection. Right now in South Africa, they're having an issue where a lot of South Africans are upset with people who have come into the country who don't have legal status, who are not citizens. And they are protesting so that they will leave. Most of the protests have been peaceful, according to what they said, but they want people to leave. The reasons are in South Africa is because they have 30% unemployment rate. And what happened is a lot of Africans, once apartheid, which was the rule based on race, where you had white South Africans who would come in and colonize the place, had been taking over, and they set up apartheid, which is the racist form of government in order to keep black people out of control. So once that ended, a lot of Africans from different countries came into South Africa looking for jobs and opportunities. And so what they have is a bunch of people. They said the numbers are high, millions and millions of illegals, people who don't have legal status. We'll say that, who don't have legal status. And so they've protested to try to get those people out. I'm not I'm not somebody who lives in Africa, so I don't know, because everybody's black. How you gonna tell who's legal, who's not? It's wild to me, in a sense. But again, I'm not from there. But they're trying to move people out. But their reasons and their rationales are a little different. It is, hey, we don't have enough jobs. We have 30% unemployment for the people that we have here. So we can't be bringing in people from other countries. And then we can't even get jobs and our opportunities. And so it's kind of a similar conversation to what they're having here in the United States. However, in the United States, we don't have that problem. we have 4% unemployment. We don't have issues of where we have a lot of people who don't have legal status who are taking a lot of the jobs that are desired. A lot of people here who are illegal status take jobs that the folk don't want, and if they do take jobs, they take jobs that a lot of folk can't do. And so we're in a situation where it's not a situation where we have a 30% unemployment and all these jobs being taken and our economy is being broke down. And so we don't have to have a problem where we're trying to keep people out and push people away. And I know some folk think very opposite of that, like, oh man, these illegals are taking all our jobs and doing all this bad stuff. That none of that is the case in being true. And so for us, individuals, churches, just individuals, none of this should matter to us. If you're here, we need to treat you right. If you're following the rules and following the laws, I think our job is to treat one another with love, respect. And so whether you're a citizen or not, we treat you the same. That's not, I think, most people's job. And I think that's the problem that we have here, that a lot of us are getting involved in some things that doesn't really matter to us. I'm not an immigration official. And if you're not an immigration official, then spending a lot of time worrying about immigrants probably isn't the things you need to be doing. Worrying about people who have illegal status or legal status is probably not the thing that you're doing. A lot of the hate, I think I want to say, and disgust is from people who are just making stuff up, in the sense of, oh man, these people have taken my opportunity. They didn't take your opportunity. They took my chance to go to college. They didn't take your chance to go to college. You didn't get in. Or they took my job. They didn't take your job. You just didn't get the job. It is not that you're not getting things that you want because of other people. You're just blaming life and situations on them. There may be a situation here and there, where an illegal or somebody who didn't have a legal status did something, but for the most part, no. Just blaming people for things, And so if we believe, I think, this is me now, if we believe in God and God has the whole world in his hands and all power, then we need to stop getting on this thing of resources and folk trying to be stingy with our stuff, and then folk don't belong here and they're taking up. None of that stuff can be true. It can't be, again, because God has the whole world in his hands. And so I think we again, let's not get caught up in what politicians and people on television and everything like that are doing, trying to divide us from other people. We just need to be showing love to one another. Again, that's my perspective, and that's how I come to the conclusion of what we need to do when it comes to this citizenship. So the good news is, Clarence Thomas and his thought process of trying to limit citizenship was not successful this go round. And the current administrations, their ideas of limited citizenship was not successful going around. That's the good news. And the other good news is, for us, it doesn't matter, because we should be treating people with the same level of respect, same level of love, same bringing them in relationship, community. If you are here in the community, then you're a part of the community, and I'm going to treat you like you're in the community. And so it shouldn't change the way that we treat one another or how we approach, our day-to-day lives. And so that's that. I mean, that's as clean cut and straightforward as it is. I think that it was a win today for common sense. There was a win today for not being stingy, and it was a win today for loving one another. All right. Well, that was it. Not too much controversial going on, anything crazy. As I want to remind everybody about our other offerings on Thursday. We have Thursday. It's our weekly Bible study. Please join us for that. On Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a time of worship that is on Facebook, YouTube, and in person. And then, of course, on Tuesdays, we have a time of prayer from 7 to 7:45. And that's when you can pray with us. And then also, of course, we have Impact 2026. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And please join again. Have a good one.